This is the Sales Gravy Podcast. I'm Jeb Blount, best-selling author of Fanatical Prospecting and Sales EQ, and I'm here to help you open more doors, close bigger deals, and rock your commission check. All right, we're back for part 2 of my conversation with the great Anthony Iannarino, the best-selling author of the hit new book, Eat Their Lunch. And we're talking about competitive displacement. How do you take your competitors' accounts? Before we get started, though, I want to tell you about one of the tools that I use to take my competitors' accounts. It's called ZoomInfo. I love ZoomInfo. It is one of my secret weapons, and my entire sales team uses ZoomInfo. And we use it because it's data at our fingertips. We can find out anything that we want to know, including direct dial numbers and emails for the prospects that we're chasing. And that gives us a competitive edge when we're working to displace our competitors from their accounts. And here's the good news. You can try ZoomInfo for free at zoom.salesgravy.com. That's zoom.salesgravy.com. It's a sales tool that you won't be able to live without. Now, here's part 2 of my conversation with Anthony Iannarino on how to displace your competitors. Anthony, my next question is around strategy. What do salespeople get wrong about competitive strategy in this type of environment?
I mean, the primary thing that they get wrong is that they believe that they can do something about their competition. And so they'll say, well, I would have won that, but my competitor had irrational pricing, and there's no way that they can make money at that margin, and they're going to go out of business. And then you have to challenge them and say, well, they've been in business for longer than your company, and somehow they're managing to keep the doors open. But even if you went to them and you said, Jeb, listen, we both work in the same territory. We both have the same industry. And I'd like to ask you, please, to raise your pricing to something that's competitive so that I have an easier time winning deals against you. What are they going to say? They're going to say, like, seriously? I mean, fix your pricing if you want to compete. You can't do anything about that. And then they'll say things like, well, the customer didn't understand how we were better. Well, whose fault is that? And what you have to understand is that there's 3 choices that a business can make. You can always have the lowest price. And there's always, and you know this from uniforms, there's always somebody who's willing to stake out that very, very low margin race to the bottom. And then there are people who always have the best product on earth. They just have something better than everyone, and they want to make selling easier by saying we're better. But the only real strategy that you can win with is a competitive differentiation to say, considering the price, considering the quality, considering everything else, I can give you greater value for the money that you're spending than anyone else. And so when you look at competition, your real competition is, can you create value that differentiates you enough and allows you to justify the delta between your price and theirs? And you have to give up this idea that you can do anything about your competitors, because you can't. You can't do anything about them. They're going to do what they do. You've got to play your game, and your game has to be the strongest game when it comes to value creation.
One of the games I play with salespeople on sales teams when I'm on site doing training is I'll ask them, and I'll usually ask the leaders, can you give your product away for free? This is typically following a salesperson telling me that their competitors are all lower than they are, because that's what every salesperson does. That all the competitors are lower than they are. And in most environments, I'll say, can you give it away for free? And there's some manager, there's some human being that can approve giving it away for free. So the price is free to infinity. So it tells you that the price is completely elastic in the marketplace. So that there's nothing that you can do about pricing. It's in that individual moment. How bad does someone want to beat you? And are they willing to use price as the differentiator? And to me, this is where salespeople get it completely wrong. Price isn't the differentiator. And price is only the differentiator when you showed up and throwed up. Like when you showed up and started pitching your marketing brochures, but by the way, that look exactly the same as your competitors' marketing brochures and sound exactly the same as your competitors' pitch. If you're pitching, if you're doing a kitchen sink data dump, then there's nothing else to compare you with other than price. And in that particular space, the organization in that moment that's willing to buy the business will usually get the business. But that's that's the difference between value creation or differentiation and going in and just doing the same old thing that everybody else is. And by the way, that's what I learned in competitive differentiation, is that the difference oftentimes was me. It was the questions that I was asking. It was getting below the surface, and it was really solving problems. But so for me, what I learned in a world where everybody had exactly the same uniform, everybody had exactly the same service, the experience that the person had that I was working with, going through the process with me, the questions that I were asking, and then the way that I was able to design the value based on what their particular problems were in their language, that was the thing that connected the dots and made me look different.
On the next episode, I continue my conversation with Anthony about how to eat your competitor's lunch. Make sure that you go check out Zoom Info. You can check it out for free at zoom.salesgravy.com. That's zoom.salesgravy.com. I promise you that when you try it, Zoom Info will become a tool that you cannot live without.